I'm now being joined for this topic by Enibehe Effiong, a human rights lawyer, activist, social commentator, and litigation lawyer. Also with us is Dr. Memuna Yusuf-Kadiri, popularly known as a celebrity shrink, a psychiatrist, mental health advocate, and life coach. And then we have Precious Oruche, known as Mama P, a fearless young activist and feminist championing gender equality and social justice. A big pleasure to have all of you here on Perspectives. But let's start with you, Memuna, because you're here with me. The other two are in Abuja. Now, there are women who have married older, wealthier men, and but in Regina and Ned's case, could they truly grasp what their unions demanded? You know, because if you think about it, some people have gotten it right. So what did they do wrong? And what were the odds against them?
Against them, yeah.
Yes.
So not all age gap marriages are inherently doomed. Like you just cited at the beginning, the Okoyas, we've seen that in
yes.
age gap, right? But some of them don't thrive as much as that. And so what that really requires in age gap marriages is deep emotional maturity, which you also mentioned, and of course, mutual respect to thrive. For an 18-year-old, she will see love as safety, and power can be disguised in form of protection in that kind. Let's talk about her age at the time of marriage.
Exactly, at 18.
18 years old is a teenager, is a child. Let us not look at the way the society has made it look like it is all about money, power, influence. That is a brain that where as a psychiatrist and as a physician, we talk about the prefrontal cortex. That is the site for executive functioning, decision making, impulse control, is not fully developed. So no
matter how exposed,
they're still a child. So exposing to wealth, power,
and apparently
influence.
she met him before
exactly.
18.
So exposed, so she's going to mistake C for C and D for D. What do I mean C for C and D for D? Control for care, and dependency for dependency for pampering or something like that. So the truth is that a child at that age is supposed to, learn more about identity, how to thrive, how to be more self-aware, how to develop herself more. And researchers are also backing this up and telling us that we have over 40% of divorces in these age gap marriages because of the emotional maturity and, of course, the life expectation for two generations wide apart. And also age gap that are 20 years more in that age gap, there's imbalance in power and autonomy. So the questions we should be asking is that which system set up an 18-year-old to marry at that stage? And also looking at the fact that what system also allow unhealed, issues and psychological narrative drive an older man to marry such a very young person.
That's very common.
So because the thing is that now we are talking about control here, we are talking about, we are talking about control, we are talking about the fact that, affirmation, we're talking about, being admired as an older person. So the truth is that these are tendencies for an older person to exhibit narcissistic enforcement because that drives a deeply seated insecurity. So we need to understand that when there's that age gap kind of marriage, issues like this is a system. We have to build a system where an 18-year-old shouldn't be seen because she's exposed to power, money, influence, shouldn't be seen as if it's enjoying. Healing doesn't happen in luxury cars. It happens in safe spaces.
It's good that you mentioned this because there's also the issue of the mother. A lot of people, the mother has gotten a lot of backlash. That how on earth would you take your 16-year-old child, which is apparently the age that she met him, how would you introduce him to a man already in a polygamous setting?
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because people perceive or the perception out there is that she did it to satisfy her own self.
So
most times, and almost as if you gave your child as a sacrificial lamb. Because how on earth can you think a girl of 16, 17, 18 can begin to cope in a polygamous setting with a man who already has 5 other wives?
So UNICEF, as of 2021, that did research in us, in Nigeria, talked about the fact that over 44% of young girls that marry before the age of 18 had their parents' blessing. that is not, it's not only about concept, this is about
it's
condition
about encouraging
fear.
pedophilia.
Yes, condition fear. So we unhealed mothers,
this?
yes, unhealed mothers, we definitely bring about this fear that the children will inherit over generation to generation. So sometimes it's not about greed that they are marrying off their children. It may be about generational trauma. Because what they understand is the fact that, this is what can take their family away from generational survival issues, societal pressure, and of course the fact that we need to move past this stage. So you find out that some mothers will drive their children into such marriages, survival marriages, which we call them, because they want to uplift themselves out of some level of trauma. So
without the child being mentally prepared.
Exactly. And so we need to let mothers, train mothers on emotional healing, psychological education, and of course financial independency, so that you should not be driving their children into such survival marriages. It's not healthy for any child of that level.
Okay. Anyway, we have Precious in the house now. Now I've been discussing with Dr. Memuna here, and we've been talking about the mental health of a child who marries a man much older and a man who already has several other wives, polygamous setting. Now I want to ask you, Nedi Nwoko is a seasoned politician and a political figure, also a public figure, as you know. So how do you think someone of his stature could have managed this situation more gracefully without fueling public drama or blame?
Okay. Thank you very much for having me here again. Personally, I think I don't want to be judgmental, so I hope nobody takes my statements the wrong way. I think as a seasoned politician, a legislator, a seventh senator, a lawyer, like another statesman, I think he should have handled it more gracefully. By that question, we all subtly agree that he didn't do justice to his response. I feel like he should have waited a bit. Leadership skills are tested in troubled waters, not calm waters. I think he should have waited a bit, not trying to seek social media validation and all that. He should have issued a response, a statement that would have protected family virtues, not throwing his beloved under the bus in a minute. So personally, this is my personal thoughts. I feel like his statements were childish. He should have acted from the protective point of view, not the defensive and aggressive point of view. His statement, as long as I'm concerned, was uncalled for, was not right. It further showed that he had failed as a husband, as a mentor, even as a senator. Because charity, they say, begins at home. Leadership begins at home. So if that was your first response in such a chaotic situation, only God knows what they do right there in the National Assembly.
But some can
personally, you see, I keep mentioning personally. These are my thoughts. I feel like he could have responded with more grace.
Okay,
if he needed to respond.
Yes,
there was no need for that immediate response.
Okay, if you say that, but then again, on impulse, don't you think he would have wanted to defend himself to a certain extent, which is why he explained.
Of course.
Because he made it sound like he had been long suffering with this accommodation of her excessive usage of drugs. I'm not justifying or supporting anybody in this case. I'm just saying, do you think he was pressed to release that against his better judgment? Do you think he was pressed to release that information?
Leadership skills, he wasn't pressed. There's nothing pressing about it. Silence in such situation breeds future respect. The respect that comes from silence in this kind of situation along, how do I explain it now? In the future, people will respect you more if you had kept quiet in a time like this. I don't think there was any need for that immediate statement. There was nothing to defend there. Silence, focus on your family. From the story we heard, a child was sick. Something is going on. You are the head of the house. This lady you are married to is 40 years younger than you. Focus on your family. Find a way to, package your family in a way that it will not be an object of ridicule, even in future. In a second, you just came out to admit that your wife is a drug user. That is not right. So I think personally, I also feel like Ned Nwoko loves the social media. He loves social media validation. And that is what happened there. He was trying to look for social media validation. So I feel, I stand on my ground, that his response was not graceful enough. His response was too quick. And his response showed less of fatherly role.
Get back to Dr. Memuna and your house. They say to whom much is given, much is expected. There are claims that when Ned Nwoko's wives try to leave, he withholds the children. So in a marriage where a partner holds all the power and women often shrink, to keep the peace, how can they reclaim their voice and worth without being seen as rebellious?
You know, when you cry for help, that cry for help is a cry for autonomy, cry for power. So it's not being rebellious. It's that last cry that I need help. Like the question you asked earlier on, why did he had to respond? He didn't have to respond. You cannot throw your wife under the bus just at the blink of just something. How can you be saying that she's a drug addict? Was she a drug addict before she entered the marriage? Just at the question that if you bring it to the society should also ask you those kind of questions. If she was a drug addict before the marriage, how have you helped her in rehabilitation? So now
he claims that he tried to help her.
You know, we need a lot of questions because he's a politician, he's a leader, he's in the Senate. So he owes us. If he's bringing it to the public, we have to also give him back to him. But the truth here is that holding children, that's emotional imprisonment. You can't hold children. And if the wife decides to come out and speak, that is a cry for help. And we need to help know what the challenges are. You cannot hold children and as a bait. That is manipulation. And we also need to know, from a psychiatric point of view, half of all mental illnesses start before the age of 14. I've said this on this program, maybe like this is the 5th time. And 2/3 before the age of 24. What are you teaching those children right now? What are they seeing? What public validation are they seeing that the parents are? Let's not forget, internet doesn't forget things. So they are going to grow up to see these things that they are all over the internet. And how are they going to view relationship? How are they going to view power? How are they going to view family values? And these are the things that need to be put in place. So when a woman eventually shouts and say, look, there's a cry for help, we the society shouldn't silence her. We the society shouldn't look at it as if she is seeking for validation or seeking for whatever it is. We should build, a culture of compassion. We should eliminate that gossip culture and invite a compassion culture so that we can build safe spaces for such people to speak up and get the help that they need.
Yeah, but is it out of place for men like Ned Nwoko to feel entitled? Because when you're the one paying the bills, you're the one picking the tabs, your voice
must be heard.
Your voice must be heard. Even if you recall, even when families lose a parent or whatever.
Yeah.
So usually it's not the eldest person that has the loudest voice.
That has the money.
It's the person that has the money.
Yeah.
So when you have that dominance, such powerful dominance, is it unnatural for him to expect? I'm not playing the devil's advocate here. I'm just being neutral and objective. Is it out of place for him to expect that everything he says must be law?
Everything he says mustn't be law. We also have to...
No, but you agree that is what normally is.
Exactly. That is what we have been seeing. This is what the society has been projecting, the culture and the gender norms that do not favor women. But the truth is that we also have to look at the system that should also look at men that are broken but powerful. What system helps such people that are broken and powerful to get the help that they need? You don't have to shout it out. You have to do what it is. That this is where emotional intelligence takes place. Emotional intelligence...
On whose part? The woman's part?
The man's part, the woman's part. Because if there's an age gap marriage, it takes a lot for you as a man to do what is right. This girl is still going to behave her age. She is still young. She's still going to do all the paparazzi, the Gen Z, the social media, whatever. But you are way older. You are more like a grandfather. You should add your age. You should add the values that you bring. You should be the bigger person here. You shouldn't at any instance be putting up. Do you know what the power of silence is? Let us be the one to say, what is he thinking about? What is he doing? How is he helping? Rather than just coming within hours of an issue, you already sending out almost like a disclaimer. She's a drug addict and I'll be sending out rehabilitation. She has to go back, and if she doesn't continue her rehabilitation, what are you trying to tell us? You are not in charge of your home.
Another thing I want to wonder, as we're talking, that crossed my mind, is that on one hand, there's the perception, I keep using the word perception because we're not in the union,
Exactly.
that he accommodated her youthful exuberance just to at least be on the same page with her. And then there are those who now argue that accommodating that youthful exuberance is what has resulted to this.
You have
So
to,
how do you find the balance as a much older man?
So that is where we are talking about control, we are talking about admiration. You know, when you crave for admiration, it marks deep-seated insecurities. So we shouldn't look at it as you accommodated. It's your own free will. You went and married somebody that's 30, 40 years younger than you.
Hence the word accommodate, because he knew that these were going to come with...
So you must accommodate.
But they said he did.
It's like, okay, and see, Auntie Ruth, I have a child that I have given birth to at 25. So I'm 25 years older than that child. The child wants to eat. The child is pouring water on me. I will accommodate all that nonsense that the child brings.
Yeah.
And that's automatic. You are not going... Even if you beat that child is going to act his or her age.
Yes, which is very natural.
Which is natural.
It's very natural.
So he has to be the person to put the home
so
front.
So it should be the
place.
father, the lover, the guardian,
the
everything
carer,
all in one.
Like the
After
proper,
all, you're the one that created
child.
snatch.
Exactly. If you beat a child with one hand, you use the other hand to bring. So you should be the one to let us know that you are saving this marriage. You are helping to make sure that this marriage is still. So because between the two of them, there is that truth that we do not know. And that truth is what we, the society, is what we build in our homes. They are the values we endorse, and they are the brokenness that we normalize.
Okay. Let me get back to Precious in the house, please. Can we have Precious back?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Precious, you've been listening to what Dr. Memuna has been saying. Regina once joked that she would rather cry in a Bentley. Remember that cry in a Bentley? I don't know how the song goes. Anyway, she posted made some post saying that she would rather cry in a Bentley than in poverty. A line that now feels haunted with what has happened. So do you think this reflects how society teaches young women to value comfort and luxury over peace of mind? And how can we change this narrative?
Okay. I could sing the song for you if you don't mind.
No, please sing it.
You know, they said I'd rather be crying in a Bentley, sipping on my Hennessy, drying my tears with some dollar bills.
Wow.
That is such
Thanks for enlightening that.
That is such a demonic phrase that unfortunately has eaten deep into the society. It's not just about Regina Daniels. Every young person out there wants to rather cry in a Bentley, in a Benz. And that's why you see even young men go into fraud, go into rituals, do things their fathers would never have dared because they rather cry in a Bentley. They fail to realize that success, you build success. You don't jump into success. When you climb into success, you get to the peak. But when you jump, you come down. That is a phrase that has eaten so we don't even know, we can't say enough how deep it has eaten into our society. People now prefer to be enslaved and imprisoned in houses with golden ceilings instead of to be free under the sky. Regina Daniel sang that song, but we can't really say if she sang that out of convention or out of fear or out of validation seeking. It is a problem, whichever reason made her sing that song, because I remember seeing that post on media and I just laughed. I told someone beside me, I said, this lady is in pain. People now prefer to mask their pain with such songs, with such quotes. They tell you tears is tears. My dear, tears is not tears. There are some tears that breeds growth. There are some tears that breeds regrets. Tears like this will oftentimes make you regret. And I would not want to speak for Regina. I don't want to be judgmental. But you see how I hope our young persons now are learning lessons from what she's going through. I hope they now realize that tears is not tears. I hope with this issue now, they don't they no longer allow society pressure them. When I'm talking about society, I'm talking about family, I'm talking about friends, I'm talking about peer pressure. I hope this situation is a lesson for all, that tears is tears, and tears even inside Bentley can be more painful than tears inside Marua. I don't know if I'm getting clear.
You're very correct.
Yes, I saw that post on media, and I was so disappointed. There are a lot of pressures on the youths of these days, both male and female. I hope we begin now to create programs like these that further educates young ones to see that this immediate luxury that is sick comes with a price. You know, I'm one person that is big on prices. If you tell me you love me, I ask you why. Whatever you give to me, I ask you why. Are these prices worth the sacrifices? You know, is it worth your peace of mind? Is it worth your comfort? Is this Bentley worth your sleep at night? So you are right when you say that that phrase mounted a lot of pressure on young ones, and that phrase, I would like to say it on air today, that is a demonic phrase that we must begin to cast and bind out of our society. We should now start retracing our steps. Yes.
Thank you very much, Precious, for that very deep insight. But we're going on a break right now, and we'll be right back with the two feisty women in my program today. Now, older men often walk away from scandals unscathed, while younger wives are branded unstable or ungrateful. Why is accountability so gendered? And has the media become a tool for justice or chaos in these domestic conflicts? Did you hear the question?
Yes, clearly. We are in a patriarchal system. We operate a patriarchal system in this part of the world. You know, I don't really go with the school of thought that other men win in marital issues. Nobody wins in marital issues. And if you as a man think you've won your wife in any marital issue, then you're not fit to be a man in the first place. I just wanted to set that record. But because of the system where we belong to, you know, these young lads are seen as gold diggers. There's nobody you want to explain to that you fell in love with someone old enough to be your grandfather. And I'll put it to them if they argue. If Ned Woko was not Ned Woko, if it was another man with same age bracket, would Regina have also, would she have fallen in love with the man? Would the mom have allowed Regina, her daughter now, to get married to somebody of that age bracket that wasn't Ned Woko? And the answer is mostly no. So this is why society would look at the young person in the union as a gold digger, and they wish for your failure. They foretold themselves that this thing is going to break. It's not just particular to Regina Daniels. It's particular to any young person. It's just like seeing a young lad, a young man getting married to an older, elderly white woman, an elderly white woman. There's nobody you want to convince that it's not because of green card or visa. There's nobody. And when issues come up in that union, oftentimes people would rejoice because they've already foreseen these issues. And it gives the elderly person the freedom, or gives them this freedom, I think that's the word, to misbehave. You know, your age keeps you in check all the time as a younger person in the relationship. Now, coming down to Senator Ned Woko's issue with Regina, of course, people will say Regina went into that place seeking for validation, seeking for luxury. Now she has gotten what she wants, forgetting the issues that is before us. It's not particular to them, but that is what is going on right now. Regina Daniel might have gotten into that marriage with love in sight, but because of the age bracket, people will judge her. People would not see any reason why she got into it in the first place. All they see now is a failed quest, which oftentimes give the older people a free pass for whatever misdemeanor or whatever misbehavior they would have acted during the time of the crisis in marriage.
Okay.
For the social media, I personally think that it has advantage and disadvantage. Yeah, personally. It gives room for people to now cry out. Before now that we didn't have social media, a lot of women, a lot of spouses suffered in their marriages. They didn't have the medium to cry out. And even when they went back to their families will tell you, I don't know about other tribes, but especially in the Igbo side, they tell you to just keep short, they tell you to bear. For the women, they tell you are the one who built your home, just manage, keep bearing, you know. So this social media now gives room for people to vent out when they no longer have someone close to talk to. Do you understand? It also has disadvantage. Those naysayers, those people who have foretold that this thing will crash, who have foreseen that it will crash, it gives them now room for mockery. They mock you. You've now brought your failures to the public, and you know it comes with so much ridicule. So it has an advantage. Social media in this has an advantage and disadvantage. And of course, because of the system we operate, older men will keep scatting away without dents. Of course, in crisis like this.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Precious, for your very deep insight. That was very eye-opening. Thank you so much for being with us on Perspectives. I really enjoyed our conversation together. So can we get back to Memuna, Dr. Memuna in the house? You know, usually in such unions, there's always the older man because he's wiser, and maybe the younger woman because she's none the wiser. There's always situations where there are no assets in her name, no safety nets in her name. He buys her all these things, but they're not put in her name. So how can a young woman at that, try to slowly begin to ensure that things are being put in her name without sounding or without coming across as suspicious or being a gold digger. to the husband?
That's where the family comes in. That's where loved ones comes in. Because if we assume that she's not as wise as the older person because of age, because of maturity, which is also emotional maturity, who are the people she's falling back on? Who are the family members that she is, you know, that can advise her properly and say this is what she should get, this is how she should go about this. And this is where it really comes into play, because it's not only about just protecting that girl child, it's about helping to raise emotionally healthy families. Because we also need to also look at reimagine our culture through the lens of mental health and emotional equity. Why? Because when a man heals, women will thrive. And where women feel safe, the children grow stronger. And of course, when families are whole, nations heal. And when generations are healed, they help to break that cycle of trauma. So it's very pertinent that we bridge this gap. It's good that we're talking about things like this, because in a celebrity kind of marriage like this, there are young girls that are already waiting to go into such. So we have to teach that emotional intelligence. We have to teach that emotional healthy families so that everybody can come apart and know that it's not about the girl who is into this marriage. It's about all of us. What is it telling us as a society when she doesn't have ears or safe space where she can open up and that can, of course, help her to move on from where she is.
It's good that you mentioned that, because I think that's one of the most difficult things in unions where you have such age gap or where you have such financial bias. Do you understand? Because many women have left their marriages with literally nothing on their backs.
Exactly.
Because everything that they had was paid for and provided for, but not in their name.
Yeah.
So someone like Regina Askia now, who married at 18, and this perception of that her mother pushed her there. I don't know how wise they could have been to have ensured that these were parameters that were
put in place. Yes.
Put in place.
Because Mr. and Mrs. in law is not Mr. and Mrs.
Exactly.
It must be Mr. Abu and Mrs. Regina, not Mr. and Mrs.
Anyway, let's get back. Let's get to exactly. Let's get to Inibehe in the house, please. Mr. Inibehe, okay, good to see you, Inibehe. So, as we've been discussing this...
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, dear. We've been discussing Regina Daniels and Nedu Woko's matter, and we were just talking about ensuring that you protect yourself as the financially weaker partner. So, obviously, naturally, there's some things called, there's the prenuptial agreement that most people do. So with prenuptial agreement that favors one partner, can the court intervene on grounds of coercion or fairness or emotional exploitation? Can the person demand more?
Thank you. Thank you. On the issue of prenuptial agreement, the reality is that it is essentially a contract between spouses or intending spouses, as it would be, before people get into marital contract. There is allowance for both parties to reach consensus on what the guiding principles of that relationship would be. And in undertaking a prenuptial agreement, certain factors are usually taken into consideration. What would be the benefit for the woman most times? And you would usually find prenuptial agreements in situations where one of the partners is very influential, is very financially more stable than the other. It is not very popular in Nigeria, but in the Western society, you would find a lot of celebrities, a lot of politically exposed persons go into prenuptial agreement. And that is based on the understanding that because of the nature of society, it is possible that after the marriage, the other party may want to seek divorce and then take advantage of that to benefit from the wealth that one of the parties may have accumulated over the years. Now, in this scenario, I'm not aware whether Nenwoko and Regina Daniel had or signed a prenuptial agreement. But what I do know is that Regina Daniel, who herself is a celebrity, having made a lot of impact in the entertainment industry, she knew what she was signing up for. Right? We have the principle of voluntary non-fit injuria. To who consents, there can be no injury. So Regina Daniel knew that Nenwoko was a polygamist. He knew that when Nenwoko had admiration for certain kinds of women, he understood who Nenwoko was. So I don't want us to pretend that, oh, this was a naive girl, inexposed, somebody who
But
was
she was 16. How wise can she be?
Very old man.
How wise can she be at 16 now?
Well,
Come on.
I don't know whether she was 16 or 18.
Apparently she was 16 when she met him, married him at 18. How much wisdom can she have? Even no matter how street smart she is, 18 is 18. So she might have known what she was getting into, but
the point I'm making...
Didn't underestimated what it took to survive in that kind of union. Maybe that's what you should say.
I think we are... Yes, but let us not be too quick to assume that Regina Daniel is suffering. You will be surprised that a few days from now, both of them will be all loved up, in their Ferrari or limousine or power bike, displaying love and showcasing and peppering people on social media.
Yeah, but that doesn't
also conclude that the Regina Daniel and Nenwoko episode is over.
No.
Yes, but on the issue of prenuptial, can the court intervene? The answer is no, because it is contractual. Once it is shown that an agreement was entered into by two consenting adults and that they had what we call the contractual capacity. They had the mental capacity. They understood the nature of the agreement. They understood what they were signing. The court will not intervene. It is in the realm of private law for which the state does not have business with. Now, let me also highlight to you that Nenwoko, being a polygamist, married Regina Daniel under customary law. I think that is the point many people have missed. Their marriage is not regulated by statute. It's not regulated by the Marriage Act. It's not regulated by the Matrimonial Causes Act. It is regulated by native law and custom.
But doesn't that hold water?
What that presupposes is that...
Doesn't that hold water? Doesn't such marriage hold water?
No, it does.
Okay.
Well, it is marriage, but I'm saying that the reason why Nenwoko is able to have multiple wives is because he did not go through the English marriage with any of these women. So that makes it very easy for the marriage to be dissolved, right? All he simply has to do is probably just return the bride price. I do not believe that this is the end of the marriage between the two of them. As a matter of fact, after Senator Nenwoko came out to make some allegations accusing the wife of having involvement, taking drugs and all that, drugs abuse, I'm not sure Regina Daniel has countered or joined issues with him. That is suggestive that behind the scenes some interventions may be going on. But on a lighter note, I think this is also, again, another indication that all that glitters are not gold.
Yeah.
Nenwoko, that some Nigerians are familiar with, being a politically exposed person, somebody who likes to do things in his own way, I think Regina Daniel, in some sense, has also benefited from the relationship. So I'm not going to accept the premise that this lady is oppressed, that this lady is a victim. I don't think she's a victim.
Let me ask a question.
I think they just have issues in their marriage and they will resolve it.
Wait. Nipe, I have to go back to that last phrase that you said, that you don't believe that she's a victim. Are you saying that because there's so much money involved in the union, there's so much trappings of luxury and what have you, that a woman cannot be a victim under such circumstance?
Why can't a woman be a victim?
Because you just said now that she's not a victim.
Of domestic violence is... Yes, in the context of the age disparity, I don't want us to use age as a baseline for our conversation, because that would be very controversial. Except we are saying that he married her as a minor, in which case I will have objection to that. But if we show that she was 18, she had reached the age of consent. As a matter of fact, under the law, a 95-year-old man can marry a 19-year-old lady. Society can find it preposterous. People may find it repulsive, but the law doesn't have issue with it. If there was domestic violence, that is condemnable. I have zero tolerance.
But she has said that there was. She did say that there was domestic. She said there was domestic violence. She said it in her video.
Has she reported it? Has she reported to?
No, but the video we saw was what she said. I don't know whether she has filed, but I'm saying based on what we heard.
Nenwoko is not shown assaulting her. She's claiming. I watched the video. She said Nenwoko sent, in quote, his talks. To harass her, that in her house, she's a princess and a queen. In Nenwoko's house, she's nothing.
The violence is too much.
Contrary to the impression we've been having over the years. Which is an interesting... I'm saying that if the violence, domestic violence has taken place, let her file a complaint with the police. Because I will not go to Nenwoko's house to intervene because I am an activist and knock at his gate and say, Senator Nenwoko, come out. Why are you assaulting Regina Daniel? I'm not going to do that. Let her file a complaint with the police. Let her present evidence of the assault, and some of us will be willing to, see how we can intervene in that regard. I don't want us to cry more than the bereaved.
Okay, now that you mentioned that, in this age of viral outrage where private fights play out online, how much legal weight do digital posts or videos actually carry? And can they hurt a case as much as they can help it in court? Can she use this in court?
Very well, very well. Well, under Section 84 of the Evidence Act, electronically generated evidence is admissible. All that a party simply has to do is to comply with the requirements of that section. You can do that by filing what we call a certificate of authentication, explaining the manner in which the electronically generated document was generated. So the things she has posted on the internet, that may have some bearing in court. The confusion, however, is that if you watch the video, all that we saw was an altercation, which almost resulted in a fisticuff between Regina Daniel on one hand and her siblings, and persons said to be, talks in quotes of Senator Nenwoko. So I do not know the background or the basis or what precipitated that drama. But if indeed there are electronic evidence of domestic abuse, yes, Regina Daniel may want to pursue an action if she deems fit. But don't forget, as long as they are still married, there's a limit to which the law can intervene. Because even within the purview of marriage, there are certain evidences that the court will not admit between parties. For example, conversations within couples. And that is to preserve the sanctity of marriage. That is why I keep saying that we have to be cautious in crying or speaking up for this victim of domestic violence. If she's truly a victim, if this man has truly been harassing her, tormenting her, abusing her in the marriage, let her speak up. Let her speak up. And then where is her mother? Where is Regina Daniel's mother in all this?
Exactly. In all of
this woman basically gave this young girl's hand in marriage when she was pretty young. We have not heard her voice. We used to see her in the private jet. Today we are not hearing her voice anymore.
I think I saw a post where she said that she had no say in who her daughter married, that she had to follow her daughter's wishes. That's what her daughter wanted.
How can she say she had no say?
No, in the post, since that's what the daughter wanted, that's what she followed, which I thought made her even come across as a bit, not too smart in her defense. Because how does a 16-year-old tell you she wants to date a 16-year-old man?
So, Ruth, there is one question. There is one question that I'm interested in. Why did Regina Daniel marry Senator Nenwoko?
Well, the rumor,
marry him for love?
Perception out there is that the mother gave her to him.
Generational survivor.
Generational survivor.
Not at gunpoint. Not at gunpoint. I don't think Regina Daniel was impecunious.
Some things are sharp.
She was fairly stable. This lady, this young girl that we are discussing is a celebrity. She had made name for herself in Nollywood. Yes. So I don't want us to pretend that this is some girl who was taken from the village. This girl had relative exposure.
Yeah, but
why did she marry Nenwoko, a man old enough to be her grandfather?
Yeah, but she was at.
She knows why she married him. Listen, so I don't want us to simply ignore that fact and pretend that.
No, let's be honest. She was at an impressionable age. No matter how exposed she was 16. How much can you know at 16 or even 18?
Impressionable.
Yes. 18 or 16 is a very impressionable age.
Well, maybe she was impressionable.
Yes, it is a very impressionable age.
Maybe she was impressionable.
Sorry?
But I don't think...
Maybe you are agreeing.
My position is... That
I don't think you can undermine the role of the mother here. I don't think
you
can undermine the role of the mother here when it came to the union. I don't think you should undermine the role of the mother.
The question is, at the time they got married, yes, at the time they got married, was she 18? If she was 18, every other conversation is a moral conversation. Insofar as she was 18, the law cannot intervene because she has reached the age of consent under the Child Rights Act.
Okay, but Dr. Memuna is saying emotional maturity.
Consent.
How much emotional maturity can you have at 18? For crying out loud, to marry a man with 5 other wives? How much emotional maturity can you have? Yes. Which is where the role of the mother comes in as a guide.
Yes. I'm saying that I want us to remember who we are discussing. Regina Daniel. Regina Daniel, take Senator Nenwoko out of the equation for a moment. This young lady we are discussing had made a name for herself in the entertainment industry.
How much name could she have made? She was 16 and she wasn't a child actress. She started acting around that age. That's 16
I don't think she was manipulated. I don't agree that she was manipulated.
Maybe not manipulated, but
let's assume she was manipulated.
Influenced.
Okay. Having been influenced while she was young to marry this man, having gone into the marriage, was she still under the influence? Why did she not live all this while?
Dr. Memuna, maybe you should answer that.
So, the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, we cannot cry more than the bereaved.
Okay, yeah. Dr. Memuna, answer that.
We cannot cry more than the bereaved.
Yeah,
let's Dr. Memuna
talk. The truth is
talk.
that there's a whole lot when it comes to when marriage like this, when the love lacks emotional literacy, fame cannot even save it. Why? Because when they are together, they are craving their connection, they are born. But when they're in public, they can be showing us all what we want to see. And they may be acting a movie that they didn't even audition for, where our opinions will be directing that movie. The gossip will be the one, intensifying it. And of course,
social media will be the cut of Bobby.
Yes, and then we'll be streaming it on all our phones. So this is where we find ourselves. So it's not about, we need to talk about emotional maturity, no matter how exposed you are. There's a part of the anatomy, the science that plays a very significant role. I understand the part of the law, but when it comes to science, an 18-year-old, we still do what an 18-year-old will do. So we need to play. That's why guidance comes in. That's why family members and that is very, very important. So in this kind of case, we pray for healing. And healing in cases like this is double-edged. She coming out to scream now can give and empower another young person to come out to talk about her own. But again, because they are in the public domain, it also, people can even start criticizing her, scrutinizing her, and that is where personal healing blurs with, public, coming out and say this is what it is. So, but I need to let them understand that social media amplifies trauma. But how do you even begin
to heal under the lights of social media?
Social media amplifies trauma.
The weight of social media upon you.
Yes, that is it. Social media amplifies the memes, the analysis, and everything that has been trending this past
few days. So does she now step back?
Yes. So our healing must be SIP.
What's SIP?
Must be structured, must be intentional, and must be private. Okay. She must embrace self-compassion and leave public validation. She needs to heal privately, and it must be structured and intentional.
Sorry, Ruth. How about the other wives of Nenwoko?
Exactly.
They complain about domestic violence. Or is it that Nenwoko, the domestic violence is only effective when it comes to Regina Daniel.
Yeah, but we
I
don't
don't
know,
agree
but
that
we
this
don't-
young
we don't
lady
know,
is
we don't
naive.
know. Well, I don't know.
This is a young lady that attends meeting of Nigerian senators' wives
This is not about naivety.
flamboyantly. It is Regina Daniel.
No, but
Are you
you're
saying
saying-
that their marriage was another Nollywood script? I don't agree that this was another Nollywood script. If there was
So you
domestic
believe
violence, it
that
is condemnable, for which the husband can be prosecuted, assuming she is ready to make that case. She has not made that case. Until she makes that case, the argument that she married him at 18, the man that influenced her, used his money to manipulate her, there has to be a point where accountability has to come in.
No, but are
When
you
does
saying
Regina
that none
Daniel
of that
take
plays a role?
accountability
Are you
for
saying-
what
Wait, are you saying that manipulation
Of course,
or dominance
of course.
doesn't play
Influence
a role?
will
or
always
gives you-
play a role in marriage.
Exactly. And it works one way.
Influence
it
will
favors
always
one
play a
person
role
much
in
more than the
marriage.
other. Exactly. But I'm saying that it is
The
easy
question is
for
it
her to be
undue? Is it
influenced.
undue influence?
Well, that depends
Was
on
it
how
an
it's
undue
used.
influence?
multifactorial.
Regina
There are a lot
Daniel
of
had
things we
a
don't know.
boyfriend.
Sorry?
Ruth. Regina Daniel had a
Allegedly.
boyfriend that we
Allegedly.
know before marrying Nenwoko.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean
No,
that
it has been shown publicly. How come that the influence of that boyfriend was not sufficient to
but
keep
he was
her
young
for
like
her to
her
marry
now.
him?
He was young
And
like
suddenly
her.
that of Nenwoko was sufficient to make her marry Nenwoko.
No, but
This
you
girl
are-
knew who
age
she was
gap
marrying.
marriage.
She
Age
knew
gap
that
marriage.
You are
she's not
downplaying-
blind. She saw his age. She saw what he looks like. She knew that he had other wives. She had a child for Nenwoko. She went through a pregnancy for 9 months. I'm
That's
supposed
too
to
cute.
agree
Too
that
cute.
Regina Daniel so suddenly was a girl taken from the village because of money. I don't think so. There
Well,
has to be a
I
point
don't-
of accountability and responsibility.
Okay. I wish we could discuss this even
Yeah,
further.
exactly.
But thank you so much, Nibehe Effiong. Thank you so much, Memuna Kadiri. And thank you so much, Precious Oruche, for this very interesting topic. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to pursue it any further. But I think each point has hit home that we brought up today. So in the end, this isn't just Regina and Ned's story. It's a mirror reflecting deeper truths about love, power, and endurance. Love can breed generations, but not necessarily maturity. Sometimes, when the age gap grows too wide, emotional rhythms can fall out of sync, and what began as admiration can quietly turn into resentment. Truth is, every fairy tale has a season, but the wisdom lies in knowing when to stop pretending it's still a dream. And as I keep saying, life is a learning curve. That's all we have time for today. You've been watching Perspectives here on Arise News with me, Ruth Osime. I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, God bless.